The Bermuda Triangle is a loosely defined region in the western North Atlantic Ocean, roughly bounded by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, known for alleged mysterious disappearances of ships and airplanes. While the area has a reputation for being dangerous, reputable sources attribute reported incidents to natural phenomena, human error, and misinterpretation, finding no evidence of unusual activity. Here's a more detailed look. Location: the Bermuda Triangle is a triangular area in the North Atlantic Ocean, roughly between the southeastern coast of the U.S. Bermuda, and the islands of the Greater Antilles including Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. Boundaries: the exact boundaries of the Bermuda Triangle are not universally agreed upon, and estimates of its total area range from 500,000 to 1,510,000 square miles. History of disappearances: reports of unexplained occurrences in the region date to the mid-19th century, with stories of ships and later airplanes vanishing without a trace, leading to the area's reputation as a place of mystery. Scientific explanation: despite the area's scary reputation, experts say that the Bermuda Triangle does not have any unusual properties and that any shipwrecks or crashes in the area had ordinary causes, such as bad weather, equipment problems, and human mistakes. Lack of evidence for supernatural causes: extensive investigations, including those by the U.S. government and scientific organizations, have found no evidence of unusual activity or supernatural forces at play. Other theories: some theories suggest that the Bermuda Triangle might be a place where compasses point towards true north, rather than magnetic north, or that the area is prone to rogue waves. Not a recognized area: the Bermuda Triangle is not a physically defined area and its boundaries are not universally agreed upon. Popular culture: the Bermuda Triangle has become a subject of urban legends and conspiracy theories, with many people believing that it is a place where ships and planes disappear under mysterious circumstances. The airplane involved was a Beechcraft Bonanza single-engine aircraft. On board, pilot Bruce Gernon had 2 passengers, his father and business partner. They took off from Andrews Island in the Bahamas and headed northwest for the Florida coast. It was December 4, 1970. If you drop a map, trace a line connecting the island of Bermuda, Puerto Rico, Miami, and back to Bermuda, what do you get? Yes, it's a triangle, a sinister polygon known for mysteriously swallowing over 2,000 ships and 200 aircraft over the centuries. Bruce Gernon's plane was within its hungry grasp. But this was a typical flight Bruce had made dozens of times before. The trip usually took about an hour and a half, with no hiccups or mysterious phenomena whatsoever. The men were no more concerned than you would be during your daily commute to work. Oh, but this time would be different. They would face very unusual circumstances indeed. Bruce took off and started gaining altitude. Strange things started happening right from the get-go. At an altitude of about 1,000 feet, he noticed a small cloud up ahead. But it kept growing. Not from the plane getting closer, this thing was actually getting bigger in size. Bruce had to fly through it, and he came out the other end just fine. Another mysterious cloud appeared at 11,500 feet. This one was massive, and Bruce had no other choice but to fly through it too. So he concentrated, took a deep breath, and in they went. At that moment, it got dark as night all around the aircraft. Not a single sliver of sunshine got through. But this wasn't a storm cloud, and it wasn't raining. Bruce was starting to get worried, and then, bam! He saw flashes of white light. They would appear and vanish quickly like lightning. But this pilot knew this certainly was no lightning. The flashes were so bright, they lit up the whole space around them. Bruce kept flying for another 30 minutes. when he realized this was the same cloud he had gone through earlier when he started to climb. But now, the cloud was cylindrical, and the plane was flying through its center. It was about 1 mile wide and seemed endless. Bruce thought he could never get out of that trap. But a minute later, he saw light at the end of the tunnel. He kept that yoke straight ahead. He was almost out of this nightmare. But all of a sudden, unexplainable things started happening again. The walls of the cloud tunnel began to narrow. They were closing in on the plane. The navigational instruments started winging out. The compass was spinning by itself counterclockwise. The electronic instruments were all malfunctioning. It was like the plane was being operated by something else. Or it was moving inside some kind of current. All of Bruce's attempts to take control were to no avail. He kept flying through that tunnel, bound and determined to get out of this thing and live to tell the tale. The walls kept narrowing, smaller and smaller, wrapping like a vortex. Bruce was running out of time. He had to get out of this place fast. The next 20 seconds were the most intense of his life. But then, he burst out of this foggy trap. As Bruce described later, he felt weightless for 5 seconds as his plane left the tunnel. The clouds dispersed, and now the aircraft was in a grayish haze. The men let out a big sigh of relief. He immediately grabbed the radio and contacted ground control. Bruce wanted them to determine his location. But when the dispatcher looked at the green screen, his face became contorted with confusion. Bruce's plane wasn't on the radar. It was as if the thing was invisible. But then the dispatcher said the aircraft was already in Miami airspace. Bruce was utterly shocked by this information. It just couldn't be true. The distance the Beechcraft was supposed to cover was about 250 miles. Remember, the whole trip usually took around 90 minutes. But this time, it took just 47 minutes to get to the destination. This model of aircraft can only cruise at about 180 miles per hour. Do the math, and anyone would understand that this was physically impossible. The dispatcher must have made a mistake. But when the clouds parted, Bruce saw that he really was over Miami. The plane landed safely, and it was time to try and solve this mystery. So what happened on that flight? Bruce checked the remaining fuel and his watch. After a short calculation, he was only more confused. The plane hadn't gone through the amount of fuel it should have. Bruce couldn't have been wrong. He was a very experienced pilot. By his early 20s, he already had 600 hours of flight under his belt. And he was all too familiar with this airspace. He'd flown countless times. All the evidence in hand seemed to indicate that Bruce's plane just skipped over almost half the entire distance. The man thought about this bizarre occurrence for a long time. He even consulted with professors and experts. But none of them could give an exact answer to what happened that day. So he came up with his own theory, and even wrote a book about it. Bruce thought it all came down to this electric fog with white flashes. Others, however, theorized that dark energy was responsible for this timely. Yes, that same dark energy responsible for the expansion of the universe. This energy could have curved time-space like a black hole, forming this strange tunnel. Bruce accidentally hit it, but he was lucky to get out of there. That's how he got into Miami airspace so fast. But dark energy is just a theory attempting to explain the unexplainable. To this day, there is no real answer for how Bruce was able to travel that distance in such a short time. But some details still can be explained. Archive records show that 84 sunspots were recorded that day, as well as a huge solar wind moving almost 440 miles per second. This would cause disturbances in the Earth's magnetosphere that could throw off the plane's instruments and radars. So Bruce's version that he was in an electronic fog could be right. And about these weird clouds. The thing is, they're pretty commonplace things in this area. Zones with low and high pressure are constantly colliding there. The result: storm clouds. Perhaps that cloud growing before Bruce's eyes was simply two massive air currents crashing into each other. But so far, no one has been able to explain how the plane got to Miami so fast. Well, maybe in the future the truth will be revealed. In the meantime, it remains another mysterious riddle of the Bermuda Triangle. But it's still, by far, not the most shocking incident there. In 1945, a total of 5 planes went missing in the Bermuda Triangle all at once. On December 5, some Navy student pilots were training in the area. The day's lesson: navigation. Ironically enough, they couldn't find their way back to the base and got lost. Many people assumed they ran out of fuel. This is likely to have caused the incident, but the circumstances were very strange. The students were under the supervision of an experienced lieutenant who had 2,500 flight hours. He would never let a bunch of novices go so far that they'd get lost. The incident was called Flight 19. Even now, there's a debate about how it could have happened. 3 years later, a passenger jet headed to Miami from Puerto Rico disappeared in the same area. There were 29 passengers and 3 crew members on board. The weather was clear throughout the flight. But experts believed that when the plane was about 50 miles off the coast of Miami, it could have been hit by a strong wind that knocked it off course. Years later, divers found a similar-looking plane in the waters. But since it was lacking certain details and registrations, no one could confirm that it was the missing Miami-bound aircraft. The next month, in January 1948, another plane went missing in Bermuda. 25 passengers and 6 crew members just vanished somewhere between Azores and Bermuda. The mystery of this plane's disappearance, along with countless others, remains unsolved. Dear listener, please like, share and subscribe my channel. Thanks. The mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle is a loosely defined region in the western North Atlantic Ocean, roughly bounded by Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. It is infamous for alleged mysterious disappearances of ships and airplanes. While urban legends and conspiracy theories fuel its eerie reputation, reputable sources attribute reported incidents to natural phenomena, human error, and misinterpretation, with no concrete evidence of supernatural activity. Understanding the Bermuda Triangle. Location and boundaries. The Bermuda Triangle forms a rough triangle between the southeastern U.S. coast, Bermuda, and the Greater Antilles, including Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. Its exact boundaries are not universally agreed upon, with estimates of its total area ranging from 500,000 to 1,510,000 square miles. History of disappearances. Reports of mysterious occurrences in this region date back to the mid-19th century, with stories of ships and airplanes vanishing without a trace. These accounts contributed to the area's reputation as a place of unexplained phenomena. Scientific explanations. Despite its ominous reputation, experts assert that the Bermuda Triangle does not possess any unusual properties. Shipwrecks and crashes in the area can be explained by severe weather, hurricanes, rogue waves, equipment malfunctions, human error, magnetic anomalies, lack of evidence for paranormal causes. Extensive investigations, including those conducted by the U.S. government and scientific organizations, have found no evidence of supernatural activity in the Bermuda Triangle. Other theories. Some theories propose that the Bermuda Triangle may have navigational anomalies, such as compasses pointing toward true north instead of magnetic north, or that rogue waves and unusual atmospheric conditions could be responsible for some of the disappearances. Popular culture. The Bermuda Triangle remains a subject of fascination in urban legends, books, documentaries, and movies, captivating audiences with tales of mysterious vanishing vessels and aircraft. The case of Bruce Gernon, a time-warping flight. One of the most puzzling personal accounts of the Bermuda Triangle comes from pilot Bruce Gernon. On December 4, 1970, Bruce, along with his father and business partner, took off from Andros Island in the Bahamas in a Beechcraft Bonanza single-engine aircraft, heading northwest toward Florida. Having made this trip many times before, Bruce expected a routine 90-minute flight. However, what followed defied explanation. Unusual phenomena. Shortly after takeoff, Bruce encountered a rapidly expanding cloud at 1,000 feet. At 11,500 feet, he entered a massive cylindrical cloud formation that appeared endless. Inside, darkness engulfed the aircraft, followed by sudden flashes of white light, but this was no storm. The compass began spinning counterclockwise, and the plane's electronic instruments malfunctioned. The cloud tunnel started shrinking, forcing Bruce to navigate through a vortex-like formation. The impossible journey. After what felt like an eternity, Bruce finally burst out of the tunnel. To his shock, when he contacted air traffic control, they could not detect his aircraft on radar. Moments later, they confirmed his location over Miami. A journey that should have taken 90 minutes had only taken 47 minutes. Given that his aircraft's maximum cruising speed was 180 miles per hour, traveling 250 miles in under 50 minutes was physically impossible. Even more baffling, the plane had not consumed the expected amount of fuel. Possible explanations. Bruce and others have proposed various theories. Electronic fog, an atmospheric anomaly that interferes with navigation and time perception. Magnetic distortions, sudden shifts in the Earth's magnetosphere due to sunspots and solar winds. Dark energy distortions, a theoretical explanation suggesting that space-time itself was altered. To this day, there is no definitive explanation for how Bruce reached Miami so quickly. Other mysterious disappearances. Flight 19-1945, the vanishing of 5 planes. On December 5, 1945, 5 Navy training aircraft disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle. The pilots, led by an experienced lieutenant with 2,500 flight hours, became disoriented and lost their way. Despite numerous search attempts, neither the planes nor the crew were ever recovered. The 1948 passenger jet disappearance. In 1948, a passenger plane carrying 29 passengers and 3 crew members vanished en route from Puerto Rico to Miami. Despite clear weather conditions, it disappeared 50 miles off the coast of Florida. Years later, divers discovered a similar aircraft, but missing registration markings prevented confirmation of its identity. The 1949 Bermuda disappearance. A year later, in January 1949, another plane with 25 passengers and 6 crew members disappeared between the Azores and Bermuda. To this day, no trace of it has been found. Theories versus reality. While the Bermuda Triangle has been the subject of countless myths and theories, experts continue to attribute its incidents to scientifically explainable factors rather than paranormal forces. Natural weather conditions, human navigation errors, and occasional equipment failures remain the most plausible explanations for the disappearances. However, the mystery of Bruce Gernon's flight and the time distortion he experienced remain one of the most puzzling stories associated with the region. Could there be more to the Bermuda Triangle than science has yet uncovered? For now, it remains one of the most intriguing unsolved mysteries of the modern era.